By clicking the link in the stream's description. The professor wants to hear from you.
On the cusp, not too old to adjust. Old dog, new tricks. Remember, I was just a pup. Something dirty in my cup. Clean soul, good car.
Isn't it lovely? I ain't looking back, I'm focused on what's in front of me. Everybody dates a number, but I'm still here luckily. I know that God got me, so I'm in good company. Isn't it lovely?
Welcome, and thank you for joining us today. I am your host, Professor Bear, and this is A Bear's Thoughts. And today, I have so many people that are just trying to get at me. I forgot to mute my phone, but this is what happens when you're doing things live. But let me first thank our sponsors, that is Chops Cards and Print On Design. If you have not seen, scrolling at your bottom, you can get 15% off your entire purchase. And why would you want 15%? Well, they do trading cards, your own personal trading cards. Yes, and the quality is top notch. So again, that's Chops Trading and Print On Demands, your answer to quality cards and print on. Now, with that being said, let me welcome my guest, who is I am thankful that he's willing to do the show, because I need a spotlight. This is Spotlight Scotty Brooks. Scotty, how the hell are you doing today, sir?
Man, listen, it is an honor and a pleasure here to be on Bear's Thoughts with the Professor Bear himself. Just to say, fan of the show. I've been watching. I like what you're doing, and keep up the good work, my friend.
I am definitely going to try, but to be truthful, it is made easy by so many great guests that I have and the stories you guys tell. And the one thing that is really great on a personal level is getting to meet so many great quality wrestlers, announcers, anything that goes into the business. I love hearing your stories and learning how we all became wrestling fans. And I think my audience enjoys that really well too.
Well, I don't know why you would want me on the show then.
Well, I mean, look.
you said quality wrestlers. You got me on the show. I mean, for God's sake.
Well, it's in your name, sir. You are the spotlight. So
I appreciate that.
To have you on the show.
Well, I appreciate the kind words, my friend. That means the world to me to have that much compliment, that much confidence in my abilities. I'll just go ahead and say, so thank you for saying that. And just so everybody knows, I did not pay him one dime to say any of those things. Maybe a nickel, but not a dime.
I hadn't checked my account. That could have been my phone telling me you sent it. So hey. So
Lord.
I always like to start it with in the beginning of how you became a wrestling fan.
Oh man, that goes back to the late 80s, as next week in 6 days I will have been around the sun 41 times. Going back for probably all of those first 12, me and my dad used to get up every Saturday morning. My dad was a local cop and then later became a magistrate. And he used to work the old NWA TV tapings here in Marion, North Carolina as a cop. So he would come out, so Ric Flair, my favorite story to tell about that is my father told me before he passed away that he confiscated a set of brass knucks off a guy and then turned around, sold them to Sergeant Slaughter and Don Kernodle that night to use in the match. So I was like, man, that's like one of the coolest stories I've ever heard in my life. And I mean, we're going back to the days of Ray the Crippler Stevens. We're going back to Dick Murdoch, Dick Slater, Ricky Steamboat, Ric Flair, Johnny and Greg Valentine. All these guys used to come to these small towns like Marion, Morganton, Spindale. They come in, they'd be done by 8:30, and then they're at the bar. They're already back in Charlotte by the time anything's good, back at the bar having a great time. And to hear those stories like that later on as I got into the wrestling business, that was really cool. But no, it goes back to my dad, us watching Saturday morning WCW, and then Saturday night WCW Saturday night, and then Sunday mornings here in Marion, North Carolina, the only thing we could watch WWF was at that time till Monday Night Raw came along in 92, 93, and then Monday Nitro in 95. And man, me and my dad were in front of the TV every Monday night and every Saturday night. And then being a kid and saying, hey, Dad, I want to wrestle. And then my dad actually being on the high school wrestling team in 1960, whatever, saying, well, let me show you how it's done, son. And me being 9 years old thinking I can take my dad, who was a Vietnam vet, and bench press 225 for 10 sets of 10. That is not an exaggeration on a daily basis for a workout. Wow. So, yeah, and he did that all the way up until his diagnosis with cancer at 74 years old, 72, 74 years old. Was much of a man. And, sitting there trying to do that, that's my entrance into the business. Grew up on Sting and Ric Flair, Shawn Michaels, Razor Ramon, Hulk Hogan, Macho Man Randy Savage, the golden era of professional wrestling. And later on, Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock. And, and I mean, I can even go even deeper, to the ECW guys, Taz and, Rob Van Dam and all that. I was never much of an ECW fan, but I really was a WCW and WWE fan back in the day. So
I definitely understand. I mean, we are around the same age, and when you said your dad sold brass knucks to Sergeant Slaughter and Don Kernodle, it just popped me so big.
Yeah,
it was like, wow. We had myself living in Knoxville all my life.
Oh wow!
And my dad's was a big wrestling fan, so we used to. The main thing here was Georgia Championship Wrestling.
Oh, absolutely, yes. So, and and TBS was shown everywhere. That's why Vince McMahon bought that back in the day. I mean, it was brilliant on his part.
Oh yeah, I definitely. Just it brings back so many great memories too. So I'm there with you. So,
I'll tell you something to move just a little bit forward. We'll go back to it. I'll never forget being on a show with Ole Anderson in 2008, and and he says, "Here, let me show you how to put you in a headlock. How to put a headlock on, right? And I'm like, I'm trained. I know how to put a headlock on." He goes, "What's the difference in you putting on a headlock and me putting a headlock on you. I'm like, well, for one, I didn't pop your jaw out of place, sir. That old codger, he flexed a little bit, and I was like, oh God. I was like, nobody's tapped out to a headlock since 1927, but I was about to.
So I guess that just answered my question. I was going to say, was Ole really that, what was the word most people use? That type of old, mean guy?
For lack of a better term, like Waylon Jennings said, ornery, lonesome, ornery, and mean. Yes, he was exactly that.
But he must have liked you, though, because he popped your jaw out without you saying a bad word to him. So that's
yeah. I just asked him for his advice. I mean, I was always the type of wrestler that would, listen, you got to pay homage to the guys that came before you. I think that's one of those things that's kind of lost on today's generation. You got to pay homage to those guys, and they were there. They were drawing money. Even though it was 20 years ago, maybe so even longer than that. They were drawing. Listen, a lot of these guys are never going to step into a place that draws over 200 people. These guys were drawing thousands and thousands every night. They were on cards like that. So that's one of those things where, you got to listen to the guys that came before you, so to speak.
No, I agree with you 1,000%. And some wrestlers today, and I'm not going to get into a big debate about it, but just to say, I think a lot of wrestlers today think it's so simple to get in the business because of the internet and all the spoilers and stuff. And some feel like they don't have to do their research, don't have to learn what happened in the past. And like you said, just common respect. Even if you don't necessarily care for the gentleman or lady that is there, you give them respect, because if it wasn't for them, you wouldn't be in the business today. You wouldn't be getting the money that you make today. So always
absolutely. Well, I came up in a dead time on the indies where if you drew 50 people to 75 people, it was a good night. Those early 2000s shows, man, some of those, especially even here in the Carolinas where it's a hotbed for independent wrestling, it was brutal. And, I was on, with a core group of guys that was like, Cash Wheeler and Gunner / Jackson Riker. John Schuyler was on a lot of the shows I was on. I was on shows with Cedric Alexander back in the day. I'm from that era. And, back then, if you didn't like a guy in the locker room, you could still work with him. Now you got ribbed, people would rib you to death if they didn't like you, or they would, or they try to break you, which by today's standards, that would be, oh, you're hurting my feelings. It's not a safe space anymore. But listen, they think, oh, well, you hit my stuff. That's a mean rib. I'm like, that's pretty light by the standards I came up in, where if they didn't like you, they would chain your bags to a drain pipe 20 feet in the air, or take it off and take a crap in your bag. And I'm talking about, that wasn't just WWE shows. That was independent shows. So, whenever you start thinking about things like that, that's where, that's one of the positives and the negatives of the business today. I don't say it needs to go back to where we're crapping in people's bags, but at the same time, we do need to bring back some of the old school ways. I'm all for protecting the business. Yes, the curtain's been peeled back. There's only so far we can go now, but I'm all for protecting the business. But, oh, you want to get into this? Well, guess what? It's 1,000 squats. It's 500 push-ups. It's 500 sit-ups. Oh, and then I'm going to teach you how to do this. Oh, and we're going to go run 3 miles. And we're going to do this. And we're going to do that. I don't think the Ultimate Warrior was a great wrestler at all. But if you go back and watch that video of him where he was training those kids to become wrestlers, I think that was great, because it weeds those out that don't need to be here.
I agree so much. It's always a good thing to, like anything else, wrestling progress. But you cannot lose the core value of wrestling, because
absolutely.
that's what makes it the sport we love. So I think there are some people out there that I think when I see them, I'm thinking, oh, you need to go on the indies. Somebody need to get a hold of you and learn you some respect for the business.
Yeah, I mean, smarten the kids up, smarten the guys up. I mean, I'm all about that. And listen, I've been on the opposite end of that too. I mean, I've done things. I mean, we all have. If we're going to sit here and be honest, where we've we haven't shown somebody the respect they deserve, or we're sitting there, we're joking, and something's taken too far. I mean, we've all done that. And that's the one thing I hate about the culture today is there's a cancel culture out there where people have tried to, I don't like what he said, so you shouldn't book him. No, you know what? Give the guy a chance to apologize. If he's still doing and saying the same things, then he needs to go away. But if he's not, hey, everybody learns from their mistakes. You should have a chance to learn from their mistakes. And if they don't, the heck with them, get rid of them. I'm all for that, but I'm also for giving somebody a chance.
Definitely. Totally agree with you. It's too much, like you said, and it's too much of the, my feelings are hurt. I shouldn't have to take this being in the locker room. Well, again, you need to learn the culture. And I'm not saying ribbing someone all the time is nice or cool or anything, but learn the culture. Don't try to change the culture so much.
Oh, yeah.
Learn the culture and help evolve the culture.
Absolutely. Like, I'll tell you one of the things that I'm glad has evolved. Let's talk. Okay, so I'm sitting here fussing. I sound like the old 85-year-old man that's saying, get off my lawn, right? But let's talk about some of the things that I do like that have changed. For one of the things I do like is the way that women are treated with way more respect in the locker room now versus whenever they, and there's still gains to be made there. I'm all for that. And I'm going to be honest with you. There's some women out there like Audrey Allen. I mean, that girl right there, man, that woman she's better than 95% of the men on a lot of shows. Now, on the flip side of that, I'm not a big fan of intergender matches because, I mean, if I go out here and I get into a fight with a woman, well, I'm going to jail because that's called assault on a female. And there's nowhere else are you going to have anything where it's a man versus a woman. You don't see UFC putting Ronda Rousey in there with Conor McGregor because we all know how that's going to end. So I'm still old school on that, and I always will be. And I'm not going to be, I always tell a promoter, you want me to wrestle a girl? No, I'll do it with another girl as a tag partner and another man as her tag partner. Intergender rules, absolutely, but because that's the only way it makes sense and it's right. Morally, I have a what's the word I'm looking for? I have an objection to it,
right.
But
and one thing I think we both feel the same way. Now, I've watched a lot of intergender matches, and they've been good. They've put on great creative ways of handling it. But for me personally, I'm not a big intergender guy. I do believe the women. I do believe the women are coming on strong. That they're starting to get the respect that they have earned long time ago. And
it goes all the way back to, this is a bad name to say, but it goes back all the way to Moolah and, later on Sherry Martel and, and then Medusa, Alundra Blaze. And then, but the two women that really started that revolution, if you think about it, were Trish Stratus and Lita. If you want to really go back to women's evolution of pro wrestling, and then you got Molly Holly and Victoria, and this was not the Attitude Era. This is after the Attitude Era in the Ruthless Aggression Era. And if you start thinking about that, there hadn't been that was actually that to me was really cool. And then, and then it became even a bigger deal with Natalia Neidhart. She came along, and it's like, okay, women, obviously women are going somewhere with this. And I thought that was great. And then all of a sudden, then you got girls like Becky Lynch and Charlotte Flair and Sasha Banks, Mercedes Moné, Paige, Saraya, whatever she's calling herself now, Alexa Bliss, all these great female wrestlers popping on the scene. Now you got Rhea Ripley popping onto the scene. And I think it's so good because it adds another element to the show that was missing. Yeah. I can go to any Victoria's Secret catalog and I can hire a girl just because she's hot. But I think it's even more badass whenever you get somebody like a Rhea Ripley that comes in there and kicks the crap out of everybody.
Well, now I was just about to say, it's about the sport, and they treat the women as athletes and not as Barbie dolls.
Right.
I mean, if I was a woman, I would be offended by some of the stupid, and I do mean stupid, storylines that they wrote for them. And I'm like, why would I care who stole my brush? That is so stupid and demeaning.
Well, you got to think, that same person was also writing a storyline in the mid-90s about, a pirate and Bret Hart, and Bret Hart was mad because he stole his jacket.
True. Very true.
So, I mean, it's not much different than that if you start thinking about it. You steal somebody's, and then going back to this, it's how can the performers turn it into something where it means something. Think about one of the hottest feuds at the beginning of the year was Drew McIntyre and CM Punk. And what became a centerpiece of that little 50-cent bracelet that the fan made for him that had AJ, Larry, and Punk, had all three of their names on it. And they turned that into a centerpiece. And it was great storytelling.
Right.
So, I mean, I think that's one of the things that's missing. I was talking to a kid one time backstage, and he says, I just want to create moments. I want to create moments, and he was talking about, well, it's just, and I'm like, yeah, but it's got to make sense. And you can create moments with storytelling. And I tried to keep telling him that, and he didn't want to, of course he didn't want to listen. I was like, all right, cool. I'll go out there. I'll do 10 moves to your 100, and my 10 moves will make more sense than your 200.
Yeah, but that goes back to my and let me preface this. Not every young guy or young girl doesn't get it, but
no, I agree 100%.
Storylines should be the main base of wrestling, because you
absolutely
can have a great match, but if you don't have some storyline behind it, why this and that, like you said, it won't make sense, and the crowd won't be fully invested. When you get
absolutely
the crowd fully invested, you can bring in anything.
Well, if you're a good enough heel, for example, the heel is the one that should be carrying that on a large, if you start thinking about it, on a large scale. So if I piss you off enough, do you know what you'll do, Mr. Bear? Do you know exactly what you'll do?
Yeah,
you'll pay money to. No, you're gonna pay money to. Yeah, but you're gonna pay money to. You gonna pay money to watch me get my butt kicked, right?
No, I'm gonna hire somebody to kick your butt. But you mean that wrestler? Oh, my bad.
Yeah.
I'm gonna watch somebody kick your butt.
Yeah. So if I make you mad, so if you want to go back to it, now watching boxing, for example, everybody hated Floyd Mayweather because he ran his mouth. Everybody hated Conor McGregor because he ran his mouth. But what did that do? Man, I can't believe McGregor said this, and I can't believe Floyd Mayweather said that, and I can't believe Muhammad Ali said this, and Mike Tyson said that, and yada yada. But guess what you did? You paid money. You paid your hard-earned money to watch them get beat. Now Floyd, it never happened, but Conor, it did. So whenever it goes, and then if you do that for so long and you're so good at it, then the fans will respond to you and say, there's something behind this guy. Like nobody liked Ali whenever he was Cassius Clay running his mouth at Sonny Liston. They were saying, man, God's going to shut this guy up. This Sonny Liston it's going to shut him up. Or same thing with Mayweather, McGregor. I mean, the loudmouth. Think about it in basketball. You know, nobody liked it whenever Dennis Rodman from the 95, 96 Bulls was talking all that junk.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know, but they went back and they backed it up. And then it was, oh my gosh, this is amazing.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You're totally right.
So but that's how you draw money. And a lot of people, you know, Kevin Nash said it best. He said, everybody wants to talk about the business and talk about wrestling as a business until you treat it as a business. Then you're considered a prick.
Yeah, very much so. Because a lot of people can't separate the two and don't realize it is two different things.
Yeah. You know, I might not have the best in-ring ability. You know, there's people out there right now way better than me. But if I can put fans in seats, then guess what? There's my main event spot.
Right.
If I'm good enough, Hulk Hogan was not as good a wrestler as Ric Flair. I think we can all agree with that, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
But how many people paid to watch Hulk Hogan every night?
Yeah. And knew his name, whether you were a wrestling fan or not.
Yeah. I mean, you know, Hogan was up there with, you know, in the 80s and 90s, Magic Johnson, Michael Jordan, you know, Jose Canseco, you know, those were the big stars of the sports stars of the 80s, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Lee Haney, you know, and then you threw in Hulk Hogan. I mean, that was Americana, Sylvester Stallone.
Very much so.
So, yeah.
So,
that's into my rant.
No, I enjoy that, but we're not doing what we're supposed to, and that's put the spotlight on you.
Oh well, you know, listen, it can be big enough that we can include everybody. So you know,
I love it. So let's.
But whenever it's showtime, it's mine.
Oh, okay, understandable. So let's go back to how your father showed you wrestling moves. How did you get into the business?
Okay, so here's exactly how this happened. So again, my father being very connected in town. But let me back up for a second. My junior year in high school, the high school paper printed a story about a few guys that got together in another friend's backyard with a trampoline, and they had a wrestling organization. And so I went down there and I was like, this will be fun. It's just a bunch of guys jumping around the trampoline. No, these guys took it seriously. They had storylines. You know, they had a run sheet before that was anything big. But the angles were booked out. You know, I mean, their characters, you know, they were commentating, they were filming. And I mean, I did that probably from the ages of 16 to 19. Even whenever I started getting into the indies, I was still going, we still would have a few backyard shows. And, you know, I would go down and I just have fun. But then later on, there were some guys that ran an indie fed. And they, you know, hey, if you come help us set up, you know, the more the merrier. You can help. We'll train you. Okay. Well, we didn't realize that we were basically these guys bump dummies. And there's an actual, you know, I mean, I'm going to call his name. I'm sorry. You know, he's one of my best friends. People around here know this. One of the guys that came up with me helping, like in that backyard scene and in that other scene was Cash Wheeler. You know, I've known him since he was 14 years old. And, you know, and so Cash, we always knew that he had a legitimate shot to get to where he's at right now. But, you know, he was one of them, and we would all just show up. And I remember, I was about to call his actual name. He was getting used. I mean, he was not the size he is now, and neither was I. We both maybe, if you put us together, we both maybe weighed 250 pounds. And, you know, and we were being used as bump dummies all the time, and we just got tired of it. And well, then we went out there. We said, well, give us some matches. We know what we're doing. Let us have a match. Okay. We went out there. We had a better match than the guys that were trained. And that's whenever we realized, hey, We know this. This is fine. So about 2005, late 2004, 2005, I get a couple of us booked on a local indie show that was outside of our hometown. And we run into, I'll tell you a funny story. Ricky Morton and Stan Lane were booked on that show as the main event. And I'll never forget this. I didn't know who Stan Lane was at the time. I hadn't seen him in years. And he walks up to me in the Shelby City Parks Recreation Center in Shelby, North Carolina. And he goes, "Hey, do you know who the promoter is?" And I'm sitting there going, "Yeah, like, who's this guy? Like, he doesn't even know who the promoter is." And I was like, "Oh," but I didn't. I said that to myself. Obviously, I didn't say it to him. And I was like, "Yeah, it's that guy over there." He goes, "Okay, thanks, man." And so I go to the locker room and I'm like, "Who was that idiot?" You know, and I'm preparing to wrestle my Fred. I think it's awesome. We've got a pre-show match. We're going to go out there. We're going to tear the house down. And he comes in and he sits down right beside me. He goes, "Hi." He puts his hand down. He goes, "I'm Stan Lane." I went, "Oh, shit." Excuse my language. And then Ricky Morton comes over and he just starts talking to us. And it was just from there on, and it was learning from Ricky. Ricky was such a big commodity back then in the Western North Carolina area that you could be on a show with Ricky at any given time. That was back whenever he was having his child support problems and things of that, you know, in and out of, you know, facilities, if you get what I'm saying, not rehab facilities, but other detention facilities. Right. And, you know, not wanting to cast too much, you know, but Ricky was always one of those guys that you could go to and say, "Hey, teach me." And, you know, next thing you know, here would just come a wealth of knowledge that you just did not, you know. And so that's how I like to say that I got trained. And then I ended up doing a seminar with Tully Blanchard and Dr. Tom Pritchard and Les Thatcher. And I learned more in 3 days in that seminar than 3 years I'd been in the business. And at that point, I'm getting booked every Saturday night, every Friday night. I'm in Chesney, South Carolina with Jay Eagle at APW, you know, and then later on into Spartanburg. And I'm traveling all over the Carolinas. I'm down at ACPW with Trey G and Sean Cruz and these guys. And then I'm in, you know, I mean, I was all over the state of North Carolina. I was all over the state of South Carolina, going into Georgia a little bit. And, you know, I was living the dream, you know, and I went a separate route, even though me and Cash were still friends. There was a bunch of guys from that original group that got together and they bought a ring. And then they started promoting at the local armory. And so I was like, well, that's good. Well, I can just go out here, wrestle for a few dollars, and then, you know, I'm getting my reps in. And then the next thing I know, the Marion show was one of the biggest shows to be on in the circuit around 2007, 2008, 2009, 2010 into about 2013, 2014. Marion in Asheville was one of the biggest shows. Again, you had Gunner, Jackson Riker was on it, Chemo, Cash Wheeler, John Schuyler, I think I said his name, you know, all these and multiple other talents that would go on to work other places were on there all the time. And I'm just sitting back going, man, if I would have really pursued it, man, I could have probably been right there with Cash right now. But life had some other decisions for me. I would like to say that I don't even say life. God had some different decisions for me. And I went down that path and I became a better human being for it. So
I tell you, one of the things that you said that just like a light bulb going off is Ricky Morton. I've been blessed to have him on the show. I've talked to him live several times. Just one of the most sweetest people in the business. So kind. And his son Kerry, God, they are just very, very good. And
Ricky,
and then
Ricky was. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. No, I was going to say Ricky. I was just going to say Ricky was such a godsend for me because he got me booked on a few shows. I could show up. I remember one time I showed up at a show, wasn't even booked. Started talking to Ricky, and Ricky looks at me. "You got your gear?" "Well, yeah, I can." It's like, I live 5 minutes down the road. "Run home and get your gear. I'm going to get you on the show." You know, I mean, that's you can't say, man, that's just the type of person, type of human being Ricky Morton is. So
Yes, he is. Then to hear that you did seminars with Tully Blanchard, with Les Thatcher, and Dr. Tom. I mean, you just had some of the greatest minds give advice to you. Ricky Morton. I mean, there
yeah,
are people that don't understand how blessed you were in
yeah,
your
absolutely.
coming up in
Well,
wrestling.
and then think about the peers that I had to bounce things off of at the same time. Like I said, Gunner was in that. He was going to TNA every week at that point, and was under contract. Cash Wheeler would later get signed to a WWE developmental deal as Dash Wilder, and John Schuyler in and out. Now he's with TNA, and Cedric Alexander. I mean, these guys were all over the place in the Carolinas. Now, Cedric, would he probably remember me? No. I saw John Schuyler at a TNA taping. I was an extra, and John, of course, hey, how are you? Good to see you. We called up for a second, and Cash Wheeler. That's yeah. But to be able to bounce ideas off of some of those guys, to be able to go to certain people, Tom Pritchard. Listen, I tell everybody, man. The two best schools around, I'm talking about actual schools, that if you want to learn how to wrestle right now, between Knoxville and Charlotte is one of them. I know Firestar is real big. I know AML, those guys, they do a fantastic job. I'm not taking anything away from those guys. But man, if you really want to learn how to be on TV, Lodi has a school in Charlotte and Tom Pritchard School in Knoxville. Those two right there, you can't beat. And that's coming from guys that have been on TV, that know what they're doing and know how to put you in positions and know the people. If you're good enough, they're going to get you to where you need to be.
Oh, yeah. I I would never forget when I got a chance to talk to Dr. Tom. Me and him talked for damn near an hour. And I'm just a fan, and he had the Texas heavyweight title with him. And
oh wow.
And I started with, oh man, I remember when I was a kid, I used to love that title. And we just talked for an hour and would have talked more, but I had to go. And I'm like, I'm talking to a wrestling legend and telling him I got to stop talking.
Right. Yeah.
Crazy. But definitely.
Yeah, absolutely.
It is so many great people out in the indies. And that's one of the biggest things to this day. I always tell anybody, yes, WWE, AEW, TNA, they have great performers. No, I take nothing away from any of them. But if you want to see the up and comers, the stars,
absolutely,
go to your local indies. I promise you, you're going to see somebody in 5-10 years. You're going to see them main event, be the world champion, be major players. So it is so crucial that you go and check out and support your local indies.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more there, Professor Bear. So yeah, I mean that's literally my start and my delving in to the business. And then about 2013, I took about 8 years off from the business. Just got a little bit burnout, so to speak. One of the things you always hear about the wrestling business is politics, and it just got to a point where I was tired of listening to everybody's, I don't want to say crap or anything like that, but you can't please everyone. And that's one of those things that everybody forgets. Everybody tries to please everybody. And I mean, I hate to say it, but it's not possible for everybody. And that's not a bad thing.
No, and that's life. No matter who there's times that you have to make a decision that is not going to please anyone but yourself. You have to do it. So I definitely can understand that. And the thing is too, one of the things sometimes you have to, as I like to do and say, I have to take a break to recalibrate, because sometimes we forget
Absolutely.
why we're doing what we're doing. And
Absolutely.
and
Absolutely.
and that's why I tell friends of mine, sometimes I'm going at this 1,000%. They just see my text message, email, they see me on Facebook, they see me all over the place. Then it might be a point you don't hear nothing from me. It's like, okay, I burnt myself. Let me breathe again. Let me get back in focus. And why am I doing this? And then go running hard or ease into it. It's just what we have to do.
I
So
agree. I agree. I agree 100%. I think that's one of the things that I learned. If you watch the WWE Unreal stuff where CM Punk was talking about a lot of that, I think a lot of my, I mean, heck, almost my hairstyle and my beard almost, or mine and his are almost alike. Yeah. I'm kind of from that same mold, I mean, I'm not going to lie. There's people I rub the wrong way, and I always will. That's just my personality. I can be abrasive, but I'm not, but I love how people want to make that person into the devil, or it's something so minuscule. So, for example, have you ever heard the story about why Punk and Seth Rollins had the falling out?
I've heard bits and pieces, so I'm not 100%.
If it's as simple as what they're saying, which a lot of times those guys are not going to let everything out, but Rollins is saying it's because whenever he left, he called him and he texted him, and it was all his friends. And he says, I called him, I texted him, I did all these things, and then he just wouldn't respond. Well, I'm sure he was tired of the way things were going, and I'm sure he had talks, but if it's something that simple, I think that it can simply be, you can make amends very simply just by having that conversation. And I'm going to tell you, I think sometimes whenever you have that animosity and you play up on it and you have that real life element to it where these two people don't get along. Think Sean Brett, think Punk Rollins. I mean, you can just go down the line where you find out people don't like each other. I think it makes for a better product.
Yeah, and I do too. It's 100%. I mean, one of the things that always come to mind when by no element of WWE's BS that these two guys legitimately don't like each other. I always go and think about Matt Hardy and Edge during that.
Oh yeah.
Time. I mean, any man who got done as bad as Matt would want that revenge. It was all of us like, you right, man. I can't hit him for you, so you hit him.
Oh, I agree. I agree. I'm not immune to that either. I mean, I've had some differences, even since I've been back. I've had some differences with some people that I don't particularly care for, and they don't particularly care for me. But the difference was, and I had that when I first left. But the difference was when I first left, me and those people could do business with each other. That's where it's going back to one of the things that's wrong with the industry. I could do business with those people and go out, have a great product, put on a great match, have a great product, leave, and they go their way, I go my way, and everything's good.
Yeah, because unfortunately, everybody nowadays, they want everybody to be friends, and you have to like them, and you have to get on. No, you don't. Like you said, do business. Look, I don't like you. You don't like me. It doesn't matter. We can make money. Let's go and make this money.
Yeah, let's make money and let's be happy because of it.
Exactly.
I think that's the best way to be. Just my personal opinion about everything. But who am I?
But hey, I agree with you. I think the business there and there's ebb and flows in the business.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
and for me, never being a wrestler, because I always make it clear that I've never had to go through the heartache, the struggle, the what you all go through as wrestlers. So I never try to compare myself to that. But as long as I've watched wrestling and kept up with wrestling and seen the insides of wrestling, I've always, and to this day, if you talk to anybody who's ever met me, I'm respectful. Even if I don't like that person, I'm respectful and try to show respect because you're in a business that I love that helps me get over my day. I may be having a rough life, and maybe you getting drop kicked makes me forget about it. It helps me go on. So I'm always respectful to that fact. And I think there's a
Absolutely.
lot of people that need to understand that and be thankful because you giving up your family life. You're giving up
Yeah.
your seeing your kids grow because you had a show. You couldn't go to your son's birthday or you couldn't be there when he got that trophy. You sacrificed so much, and whether we cheer you or boo you, at least to have that level of respect is what I believe every wrestling fan should have.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Um, I tell people it's the only form of entertainment where you can literally boo or cheer whoever you want to, and you are encouraged to make your opinion known.
Yes.
You don't see that in politics. You don't see that. You go to like for example, you go to a Philadelphia Eagles game and tell everybody you're not an Eagles fan. You see how long you last in that stadium. I'm just
True.
saying,
No,
you go to Washington D.C. and do something. So my favorite was the old school Oakland Coliseum. Go in there and wear a visiting team's jersey and see how fast you make it out of there alive. The cops are going to laugh while you're getting your ass beat.
you are so correct though that
So
so
that's one of the joys about pro wrestling. But anyways, sorry.
so no. I was gonna say I heard this rumor and I need to know if it's true or not. I heard this rumor that you have a match coming up this week and you're gonna kick a certain person's ass. Is that correct?
Yeah, let's talk about it. So this is part 3. This is the end of the saga. The first match, it was he calls it a fluke win. I beat him on a roll up. Hey, you got beat, sir. And I'll reveal the name here in a second. The second name or the second match was a last man standing match for the title, and I made it up by 10, but what due to outside interference was ruled not to was knocked back down and knocked out and was ruled not to be the winner of that match. So I lost that one, and so yeah, we're tied at 1-1, and that is with TNA's own Frankie Kazarian.
Wow. I'm
So
just gonna say I'm gonna say this, and I want everybody knowing that we just met today. First time me and you
yep,
had to talk. I've
absolutely.
never I've never met Frankie Kazarian. You don't have my PayPal info. But I'm gonna say this, and I think I need you to knock Frankie down a couple of pegs because he has gotten arrogant as hell. And I get
well,
being arrogant, but he's gone above. Look, when you can bolster over Ric Flair in arrogance, I got a problem with you. So
Yeah, that's rare air. There's only like, in the wrestling business, there's maybe one other person that I will say that I would even agree is on that level of being able to be as more arrogant than Ric Flair, and that would be Shawn Michaels. If you can be more arrogant than both of those guys, or even Razor Ramon, yeah. And Frankie Kazarian likes to go around calling himself the king of TNA. Well, this coming Saturday at the Bigfoot Festival in Marion, North Carolina at 7:00 at the Box Factory. Doors open at 6:00. Tickets are only $10. The Spotlight is going to burn that throne to ashes. Because a lot of people don't understand that the Spotlight not only, you're not only able to excel within the Spotlight, it also exposes you. It exposes you for who you really are. It exposes you for your strengths and your weaknesses. Well, Frankie, you and I, listen, this is the end of the saga. No disqualifications. Falls count anywhere. Listen, we might end up on Logan Street itself in downtown Marion, beating the hell out of each other. And I am going, hey, if that's where it ends up and that's where that pinfall that happens, I am all for it. But I'm going to go ahead and tell you, Frankie, you're in for a fight. You've been in for a fight. I had you beat the last time. I beat you once. This is the third time, son, and it's going to happen. I mean, I've never been more motivated. I've never been more, I've never had more on the line to wrestle for in my life than this match right here. I'm doing this for my father who passed away in April. I'm doing this. I'm doing this for, those kids that have dreams to be whatever it is they want to be. I'm doing this for the people that were considered the underdog and told that they couldn't achieve their dreams. Frankie Kazarian, again, like I said, come Saturday night in the main event at Final Footprint. The Spotlight burns the throne to ashes. Call yourself the king of TNA all you want, but the king's kingdom comes to an end that night.
Man, I personally wish I could be there to watch this amazing show. I just want to thank you for taking the time to
Absolutely.
let so many people know what's going on and how much of the throne is going to be reduced to ashes.
Yes, sir.
I appreciate you. So before we get going, give all your social media. Just you used to the Spotlight. This is yours.
Yeah.
Give it to us, please, sir. Well,
if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Joel Williams 1281 or Spotlight Scotty Brooks on TikTok and Spotlight Scotty Brooks on Facebook. If you want to reach out to me for booking information, Facebook's probably the best way to get to me. And, I look forward to seeing everybody there. You're going to be in for a show. I'm going to give you the show that only I can give you. Why? Because I can. And all I'm going to say is I only see spotlights and spotlights only see me. Shine on them.
I love it. I love it. We're going to have you back to.
Yes, sir.
We just grazed the surface of who
Absolutely
Spotlight is. So we'll definitely have you back and we'll get a little more deeper into the Spotlight. And again, I appreciate you taking the time and for me, give me the name of the event and where it's at one more time so the fans cannot say, well, I didn't hear it. Or unfortunately, we have lost contact with the Spotlight. He has shined so brightly.
Am I back? 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 Am I back?
You're back.
Sorry about that. I was trying to take care of everything something because I've got to be on. I'm going straight to another podcast right after this. But Western North Carolina Bigfoot Festival, Final Footprint. The festival starts at 10 o'clock that morning. We are the final thing, 7 o'clock that night at the Box Factory, 29 Logan Street, Marion, North Carolina. Come to my social media. You can get all the details. You can navigate right there to it. There's about 60,000 people there on the streets. This festival has been covered by CNN, all the major news agencies from CNN, MSNBC, and Fox News to CBS Nightly News and ABC News and all that. Come out, enjoy it. This is the biggest festival of its kind in the United States. I'm telling you guys, you're going to love every second of it. Great food, great entertainment. And then that night you get to see me kick Frankie Kazarian's ass along with other great acts such as Whiskey Business, the Dante Khalifa. I got to make sure I get his name right. MLW star D'Angelo, local star Mickey Richards. We've got them all. We would love to have you there. Thank you for having me.
No, thank you for joining us. And I won't keep you get to your other podcast, sir. And we will link up and we'll do it again very soon.
Sounds good, Professor Bear. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. Guys, girls, thank you so much. And don't go away. We actually have a second episode. Yes, a second episode. I know, out the blue, me too. But stay tuned. Right at 7 o'clock. We'll have a new guest and a new Bear's Thought. Thank you so much.